Let me ask you something. How many times have you rushed to reply to someone's message, even when deep down you knew they didn't deserve your instant energy? How many times have you felt your fingers hover over the keyboard, wanting to type out paragraphs of explanation, validation, or apology, only to realize that every word you give is another piece of your power slipping away? Now imagine doing the opposite. Imagine receiving that text, feeling the pull to react, but instead, you breathe, you pause, you choose silence. No reply, no explanation, no defense, just calm, unshakable silence. That decision alone can shake their confidence more than any response ever could. You see, people expect access. They expect you to be available. They expect you to validate them by answering. And when you don't, you throw their expectations into chaos. Your silence forces them into discomfort because suddenly they don't know where they stand. That silence becomes louder than words. It becomes a mirror they can't look away from. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is exactly what happens here. You can't control their words, their behavior, or their intentions, but you can control yourself. And by controlling your response, by choosing silence, you reclaim your power. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about manipulation. This is about knowing your worth so deeply that you no longer feel the need to explain yourself to anyone. Your silence is self-respect. Your silence is proof that you no longer let anyone disturb your inner peace. And the moment you embrace that, they begin to feel the weight of what they've lost. This video is your roadmap to understanding why silence after their text is one of the most powerful moves you'll ever make. We'll break down 8 truths that will open your eyes to how silence flips the dynamic, strengthens your spirit, and forces them to confront the reality they tried to ignore. So, before we begin, I want you to type this in the comments right now. My silence is power, and I don't owe anyone my peace. Now let's begin. Number 1. Silence creates uncertainty. Epictetus taught us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And in today's world, your reaction, or your lack of one, can send a stronger message than any reply. When you choose silence after their text, you create uncertainty in their mind. And uncertainty, my friend, is powerful. They expected control. They expected you to respond instantly because that's what most people do, jump the moment their phone buzzes. But when you don't, when you let their words hang unanswered, you turn their confidence into doubt. Suddenly they're left asking themselves, did I say the wrong thing? Did I push too far? Did they lose interest? Did they finally see my true colors? Your silence plants questions in their mind that no response ever could. It keeps them awake at night, replaying the last conversation, dissecting every word they sent. It forces them to analyze their behavior in ways they never did when you were always available. And here's the beauty. You don't have to lift a finger. Your silence does the work for you. But this isn't just about making them reflect. It's about protecting your peace. Because the moment you choose not to reply, you also send a message to yourself. I don't have to give my energy away just because someone demands it. That's self-respect. That's strength. The next time you feel the pull to respond instantly, pause. Put the phone down. Breathe. Ask yourself, am I replying because I want to or because I feel pressured? If it's pressure, don't reply. Let the silence hold its ground. You'll notice something powerful. With every moment that passes, your worth in their eyes rises, and your control over yourself deepens. Number 2, silence takes back control. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." Think about that for a second. When you stay silent after their text, you are practicing the purest form of bravery. You're refusing to let someone else dictate your pace, your emotions, or your energy. You're breaking free from their control. Here's the truth most people don't realize. Every time you rush to reply, you hand them the power. You show them that you're available at their command, like a servant waiting for orders. That might not be your intention, but that's exactly how it looks. Quick replies scream, "I need your attention. I need your approval. I can't stand the thought of you waiting." But silence flips the script. When you don't reply, you instantly take back control. You show them you are not sitting by the phone, waiting for their words. You show them that your life is bigger than their text, that your attention is precious, and that your time is sacred. This is not about arrogance. It's about balance. It's about reminding yourself and reminding them that you are not someone to be taken for granted. When you stay silent, you demonstrate emotional control. You prove that you are the master of yourself, not a slave to impulses. You show them you cannot be pulled around by curiosity, desire, or fear. And when they realize they can no longer predict your reaction, that's when the balance of power shifts. Let me tell you something powerful. Control isn't about dominating others. True control is about mastering yourself. And that mastery makes others respect you, even fear losing you, because they know you are not desperate. They know you cannot be manipulated. They know you are standing tall in your dignity. Think about it. How often do people test you just to see how quickly you will bend? How often do they push boundaries to measure your response? If you reply instantly, they feel reassured that they still own space in your mind. But if you stay silent, if you hold your line, you send a message that rattles them to their core. I no longer dance to your rhythm. You will move to mine, or not at all. The next time someone texts you with arrogance, manipulation, or half-heated energy, don't reply. Don't feed their ego. Let your silence remind them that you are not an option on their timeline. Let them sit in the discomfort of waiting. Let them feel the loss of control. Because here's the truth. The one who needs less always has more power. The one who is calm, unshaken, and patient will always control the dynamic. And silence is the sharpest weapon you can wield in that battle. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I control myself, and that makes me unstoppable. Number 3. Silence creates scarcity. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind." And let me tell you, silence makes them think hard. When you don't reply, you create space in their mind where your words used to live. That empty space turns into curiosity. Curiosity grows into restlessness. Restlessness transforms into obsession. Why? Because what is always available is never valued. It's human nature. We ignore what we assume will always be there. But remove it, suddenly it becomes priceless. Your silence is the scarcity they never prepared for. They might have thought you'd always respond. They might have believed you'd always explain, always justify, always be there to feed their ego. But when you stay silent, you shatter that belief. You show them that access to you is not guaranteed. And once they realize they no longer control the flow of your attention, panic creeps in. This is where the power shift happens, because silence forces them to replay everything. They scroll back through old conversations, trying to read between the lines. They wonder if they said the wrong thing, if they pushed too far, if they underestimated you. They start chasing answers, but all they're left with is silence, your silence. And that silence feels louder than any words you could have sent. Here's the truth. Silence makes you rare, and rarity creates value. The less they hear from you, the more they crave your voice. The less they see you, the more they imagine you. The less you give, the more they want. Your silence plants a seed of doubt in their mind, and that doubt grows into regret. But here's the key. You don't use silence to punish. You use it to protect. You use it to remind yourself that you are not desperate for anyone's attention. You use it to show that your energy cannot be bought with breadcrumbs of effort. Your silence is a shield, and that shield makes you untouchable. Do not respond just to ease their curiosity. Make your replies intentional, not impulsive. If their energy does not meet your standards, let the silence remain. That silence will teach them more about your worth than any explanation ever could. Remember this: diamonds are valuable because they are rare. Gold is precious because it is limited. And your presence is powerful because it is not guaranteed. Number 4. Silence makes them respect what they took for granted. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." And that's exactly what your silence does. It doesn't argue, it doesn't beg, it doesn't explain. It simply shows. When you stop giving endless chances, when you stop responding to every word they throw, you force them to see you in a light they never wanted to see before. Untouchable. Here's the truth. People don't respect the one who cries for attention. They don't respect the one who can't walk away. But they do respect the one who can remain silent, calm, and unshaken while others spiral. Your silence becomes a wall they can't climb, a mirror they can't ignore. It unsettles them because it screams a message louder than any words could. I will not lower myself for you. Think about it. They expected chaos. They expected arguments. They expected proof that you still cared. But instead, you gave them nothing. And that nothing becomes everything. It becomes power. Suddenly, the same person who dismissed you is now replaying your silence in their head. They're forced to respect what they once overlooked, because your silence has redefined your value in their eyes. Respect doesn't come from shouting. Respect doesn't come from chasing. Respect comes from standing tall, staying calm, and holding your ground with discipline. Your silence tells them you know who you are, you know your worth, and you refuse to hand that worth over to someone who couldn't see it when you were right in front of them. Before responding to anyone, stop and ask, does this response honor my dignity or destroy it? If it destroys it, don't send it. Don't say it. Protect your respect by protecting your silence, because silence backed by self-control is louder than words. And the moment you choose dignity over noise, they'll see you differently, not because you told them who you are, but because you showed them. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence demands respect, and my dignity is untouchable. Number 5. Silence flips the power. Seneca once wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That's the essence of power. Control over yourself, not over them. And your silence is the clearest display of that control. When you don't answer their text, when you don't fold under the weight of their expectations, the balance shifts. The hunter becomes the hunted. The one who thought they had power now finds themselves powerless. They expected you to be predictable, to keep the doors open, to respond every time they reached out. But the moment you break that cycle, you flip the dynamic. They're left waiting, they're left wondering, they're left chasing a response that never comes. And suddenly, the power that once rested in their hands now rests in yours, not because you fought for it, but because you withheld it. This is where silence becomes more than a reaction. It becomes a strategy. Because in the game of human emotions, the one who needs less always has more. By staying quiet, you prove that you don't need them for validation, for closure, or for worth. And that truth shakes them. It makes them question their own grip, their own importance, their own ability to move you. Think about it. When you respond, they control the rhythm. When you stay silent, you control it. Every second of silence forces them to sit with their own thoughts, their own guilt, their own fear of losing you for good. That's how power shifts. It's not in shouting louder, it's in holding your peace longer. The next time they reach out, don't act from emotion, act from position. Ask yourself, does responding raise me or lower me? If it lowers you, remain silent. Protect your throne by refusing to step down to their level. Your silence doesn't just flip the tables, it flips the power. And once you understand that, you'll never give away your control again. Number 6. Silence heals and empowers you. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you stay silent after their text, you're not just withholding a message, you're reclaiming your peace. Silence creates a space where you can think clearly, heal wounds, and rebuild your strength without distraction or manipulation. It's a shield that protects your emotional energy and a mirror that reflects your self-respect. The moment you stop reacting, you stop giving them power over your feelings. You stop letting their words dictate your mood. You stop chasing validation that was never meant to be freely given. Every unanswered message, every delayed reaction, every pause you hold is a step toward mastery over yourself. You learn to observe without absorbing, to feel without losing control, and to grow while they remain trapped in their expectations. Your silence becomes a sanctuary where your mind sharpens, your heart strengthens, and your soul learns its own worth. It's not passive, it's active power. It teaches you patience, discipline, and self-control, and it signals to them, without a single word, that your life is not held hostage by their presence or absence. Each time you feel the urge to reply immediately, pause. Take a deep breath, write down your feelings privately, and redirect that energy into something that grows you. Exercise, reading, meditation, or pursuing a personal goal. Let your silence nurture your resilience and expand your independence. Number 7. Silence makes them reflect. Epictetus said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them." That is exactly what your silence forces. Reflection. When you don't reply, when you don't explain, when you don't make it easy for them, you leave them alone with their own thoughts. And trust me, those thoughts become heavy. They start replaying every word they said, every mistake they made, every moment they pushed you away. They can't silence the echo of your absence because your silence has turned into a mirror. Here's the truth. Silence doesn't just stop the conversation, it changes the conversation. Because when you say nothing, they start asking themselves the questions you no longer answer. Why aren't they replying? Did I lose them for good? What if they've moved on? These questions eat at them more than any words you could ever send. And the longer you stay quiet, the sharper that reflection becomes. This is why silence is not weakness. It's discipline. It takes strength to hold your ground, to resist the temptation to break the silence just to ease their guilt. By doing nothing, you're doing everything. You're forcing them to face the reality they tried to avoid. That losing you has consequences, that your presence wasn't guaranteed, and that you won't be their safety net anymore. Understand this. Reflection is painful, and people avoid it at all costs. But when you stay silent, you give them no escape. They're left with the truth, and the truth cuts deeper than any reply you could have given. That's why they can't handle it, because it exposes what they never wanted to admit. Every time you feel tempted to break silence, remember, if you speak, you take away their mirror. Don't take away their mirror. Let them face themselves. Let them feel the weight of losing access to you. Your silence doesn't just stop their noise. It forces them to hear their own. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence makes them face the truth. Number 8. Silence proves you chose yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. That wisdom is simple yet life-changing. Stop arguing, stop proving, stop begging. Just live your truth. And when you stay silent after their text, you're not just ignoring them, you're declaring that you chose yourself. You chose peace over chaos, dignity over disrespect, self-respect over scraps of attention. They expected you to bend. They expected you to explain. They expected you to crawl back into their comfort zone. But you didn't. Instead, you rose higher. Your silence became your shield, your crown, and your declaration of independence. In that moment, you stopped being someone they could play with and became someone they'll never forget. Choosing yourself is the boldest move you'll ever make, because it shows that your worth is not tied to their apology, their attention, or their half-heated love. It shows that you know who you are and what you deserve, and you're not afraid to walk away from anyone who cannot rise to meet that standard. That realization is what breaks them, because deep down, they know they lost someone who will never return to being treated as an option. This is not about punishment, it's about alignment. You've aligned yourself with your values, your standards, your inner strength, and when they see that silence, they don't just hear rejection, they feel the undeniable truth. You have outgrown them. Write down the standards you now hold for your life, what you will accept, what you will never tolerate again, and the type of energy you allow into your space. Each time you stay silent, remind yourself that you are honoring those standards. Silence is not running away, it's standing tall. It's saying, without words, I choose myself, and I will never settle again. Let's be clear, your silence is not weakness, it's not avoidance, it's not running away. It is your sword, your shield, and your crown. They expected tears, but you gave them stillness. They expected chaos, but you gave them calm. They expected you to need them, but your silence screamed louder than words ever could. I don't chase. I don't beg. I choose myself. Every second you don't respond, you are rewriting the story. You are no longer the one waiting for their validation. You are the one who validates yourself. You are no longer the one handing over your peace. You are the one protecting it like treasure. And here's the truth. They can pretend they don't notice. They can pretend they're fine. But deep down, your silence burns. It lingers. It makes them question every choice they made. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength that is exactly what your silence represents, power over yourself. And when you have that, no one can control you again. So from this moment forward, stand tall, protect your energy, guard your worth. Refuse to settle for half-heated love, weak attention, or empty words. Let them sit in the silence they created. Let them feel the weight of what they lost. And as for you, you rise, you grow, you evolve. You live in a way that makes their absence irrelevant because you've finally stepped into your true power. If this message hit home, I want you to comment this final affirmation right now. My silence is my power, and I will never give it away. And if you're ready to keep growing, keep learning, and keep building that unshakable strength, hit that subscribe button right now. Join this family of warriors who refuse to bow, who refuse to break, and who live with dignity and power every single day. Because remember this, they expected your silence to be weakness. Instead, it became the loudest roar they've ever heard. Stay strong, stay silent, stay powerful.